what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the next episode. In the last episode, we were setting up the basics of our business process flow. We still have a few more things to add to make it work properly, and so that's what we're going to do today. We had added some additional steps in our business process flow that didn't relate to a specific column, so we need to add a couple columns first into our tables, and then we're going to set up our Power Automate flow so it sends out the denial email if they did not pass their interview. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to always start at make.powerapps.com, and as always, we're going to make sure that we're in the correct environment in the upper right hand corner. And we're going to go to our solution. So we're going to go to solutions over here on the left hand side. And we're going to go into our business onboarding solution. And we're going to go select the onboarding business process flow that we created so we can see what it is that we need to fix. So one quick way to do this is to use the validate option up here in the top of the screen. So validate is going to say, hey, what's working and what's not. So we're going to click validate. And we're going to see that we have several errors that need to be taken care of. The first one is the data step for that send denial email. There's no data steps in that, so that's why it's giving us an error. And we're going to scroll over here, and these are some of the columns that we added that don't necessarily have data steps, so we need to add these for the new hire table. So the job offer accepted and the send job offer email. Once again, we also need to set up the data step for the send denial email for the second interview. And finally, the last thing that we need to do is add a column in our new hire survey table to whether or not they have completed that new hire survey. So we have several things that we need to do first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to our Power Apps Solution tab. And we're going to go into our new hire table. So we're going to select our new hire table right here. And so we're going to add a couple columns. So we can go up here to our schema to where it says columns. And we're going to add two new columns in here. So we're going to go up to new column at the top of the screen. And we're going to add these two new columns. And these are just going to be yes, no columns, essentially choices. So this one's going to be send new hire email. And the data type is going to be a choice. And it's just going to be a yes, no. So did we send the new hire email? And we're going to make this business required and save. So that's our first column that we need to create. The other one is the job offer accepted. So we're going to create these columns and then we're going to add them into our business process flow as a data step. So we're going to go up here and select new column one more time. And this one's going to be job offer accepted. Once again, this is going to be a choice, a yes, no. Did they accept the job offer? And we're going to make this required as well. We're going to go back to our tables here. So I'm just going to use this reference over here on the left-hand side. Notice it says tables. And we need to add a column in our new hire survey table. Once again, we're going to select the columns here. And I'm going to add a new column from the top. I'm going to call this survey complete. And once again, this is just going to be a choice, yes or no. Did they complete that survey? And we're going to go ahead and save. All right, so now that we have the columns added to the tables that we need, we can now add those into our business process flow. So I'm going to select the tab at the top of the screen where I have the business process flow open. So then we can go ahead and add those steps here. So notice the new data step has the red X, and so we're going to select our column that is associated to it. Okay, so this is the new hire table. So now that we've created our columns, we're going to go back to our process here. And I'm going to open back up the onboarding business process flow. And we're going to go over here to our send job offer email. And we're going to add that data step here. So there's our column, send new hire email. So we're going to select that. We're going to make that required. We're going to apply it. And then we're going to go to the job offer accepted. So that's our new hire table as well. And we're going to go to that data step and we're going to add that column under data field. Job offer accepted. And make that required as well. So we now have those data steps. The last one that we needed to add was in our new hire survey. So we're going to go to this final step here. And we're going to select the data field, survey complete. And we can make this required as well if we want to. And we're going to go ahead and apply. All right, so now as we click validate again, we're going to see that we only have 2 errors left. So that has to do with the sending the denial email. So we have all of the steps created and we have our data steps within inside of those. So now we're going to go set up our Power Automate. So I'm going to go ahead and save this business process flow. And I'm going to jump back over to our Power Apps solution. So now what we need to do is we need to create a new Power Automate solution to help us send that denial email. So we're going to go to New here at the top, and we're going to select Automation. And this is going to be an automated flow. So this is going to open up the UI to help us build our Power Automate flow. And so we're going to call this denial email. And we're going to go ahead and select a trigger. So we're going to use Dataverse here. And notice that there's a lot of different options, and so it sometimes is hard to find the trigger that you want to use. So I'm just going to click skip, and we'll add it on the next page. All right, so the first thing that we need to do here is we're going to use our Dataverse connector. So we can select Dataverse here. Now this is a premium connector, so that means you need to have a premium license in order to use this in a production environment. But with our community license, we're able to use this. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose the action when a row is added, modified, or deleted. So thinking back to our business process flow, this section has to deal with the applicant table. Right? So when a new applicant is added, so when a new row is added or updated in this applicant table, what do we want to happen? All right, so that's what we're going to be using here. And so the change type is going to be when a new row is added or modified. So when a new row is added or modified, and then we have to choose the correct table. And so in this case, we're going to be choosing that applicant table. There it is. And for the scope, this is just how it's related. And so we're going to select for the organization. All right, and now we can create a new step. So when a row is added, modified, or deleted in Dataverse for the applicant table, what do we want to happen? Well, we need to get the information. And so I'm going to select Dataverse again to bring up all the different actions. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the row by ID. So down here at the bottom it says get the row by ID. So as we're going through this process, it's going to have an ID associated to it. And so that's what we're going to use. All right, once again, we're going to choose the table that we're going to be using here. And so this is going to be our applicant table. And so notice when I go to the row ID here, okay, so it's going to grab the row ID. And so if you see the add dynamic content, that allows you to pull values from that previous stage. So when a row is added, modified, or deleted. And so we're going to be using the unique identifier here for the applicant. So that's going to associate the row that we add in that table to this particular item. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a condition. All right, so our condition is going to be whether or not they pass their first interview. So we're going to go to choose value, and we're going to scroll down until we find interview 1 pass. All right. So remember, it's a yes, no column. So if the interview 1 pass is selected yes, then we're just going to go down this yes path. If no, we're going to send out that email. So we're going to go in here, send email version 2 for Outlook. And the email address that we're going to associate it to is from the row ID from the previous step. So where it says get row ID, we're going to choose the email of that person. And we're going to say thanks for applying. We can say something like, thank you for applying to our company. After review of your application, we have decided not to proceed. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our HR department. Put a signature on here. All right, so now if interview 1 pass is equal to yes, it's going to go down the yes path. And if no, then it's going to send out the email. All right, so then we're going to go to the next part, which is the second condition. All right, so the second condition has to deal with going to interview 2. And so our condition is going to be that interview to pass. So if it's equal to yes, then we're just going to go down the yes path. And if no, we're going to send that email again. If they don't pass the second interview, we're essentially going to send the same email. Send email. There's our version 2. And we're essentially going to do the exact same thing. We're going to add the email from the row ID. Thanks for applying. And then we can essentially just copy the message that we've already created. Modified or deleted. Okay. So get the row ID. If the column interview 1 pass is yes, then we're going to go down the yes path. If no, we're going to send the denial email. Then as it goes down the yes path, we go to our second condition. If the interview 2 pass is equal to yes, we're going to go through the yes path. If no, we're going to send out that email again. So we're going to go ahead and save the flow into Power Apps here. And if I go back into our all objects, once again using this objects tree or pane on the left hand side, so we can see we now have this denial email, which is a cloud flow set up with inside of our solution. So I'm going to go ahead and close this tab out, and I'm going to open back up our onboarding business process flow. All right, so the next step here is to add it within inside of the data step. So within inside of the send applicant denial email, we're going to go ahead and add a flow. So if you look over on the right hand side, you're going to see that option for a flow step. And so I'm going to drag that over here and put it within inside of that stage. And then over on the right, let's say send email. And I'm going to select the flow. There's our denial email flow. And we'll click apply. Select delete up here at the top of the screen. So I'm going to delete that data step 2. All right, so in our applicant, we have our flow, and then we're going to do the same thing for the second part. So I'm going to go into details and components. There's our components up here. And we're going to add that step in. Once again, send email. And we're going to select the denial email flow and click apply. I'm going to remove the data step because we don't need that. It's just going to be set up through that flow. And now we have our business process flow complete. So we're going to go ahead and validate this. Notice it says validation successful at the top of the screen. So we know we're good to go here. And we're going to go ahead and save this business process flow. Now, by default, your business process flow is going to be turned off. And so in order to turn it on here, we're going to select activate. So by default, our business process flow is going to be deactivated. Notice now we have activated. It says deactivate now. And so it is ready to go. There's a couple more things that we need to do to make sure that this is going to work properly. So I'm going to go back to the main page here. Notice the status over here on the right hand side for our business process flow is now on. So our business process flow is turned on. It's ready to go. All right, so we have set up the basic components. In the next video, we're going to set up the model-driven application to run everything so we can see the business process flow work. Once again, you have to make sure that you turn on that business process flow or activate it in order for this to work. But in the next video, we're going to set up the final piece to make all of this come together. Thanks for joining me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content. I'll see you in the next one.